So, I mean, episode 1, conversations with a search engine scientist. And I've been reflecting on you saying that because I think it was interesting that you chose that. Why did that come to mind right away?
Because the digital alchemist was already taken.
That is a good one.
It is a good one, but I mean,
you still could have said that.
Yeah, but the domain wasn't available. I haven't picked up the search engine scientist domain either, but it's also more self-serving because the search engine is more, I'm more into search engine optimization and that kind of stuff, and the testing, A/B testing, and all the different research goes into it. I think that's more fitting than the digital alchemist, which then sounds like I just make shit up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's still dope. I didn't even think about, I've never even thought about hearing that term. I've never heard that term before. Kind of makes me think of Full Metal Alchemist. So, when I say that question, I mean like you're also a father. You're a family man. You've been a scientist, actual benchtop
Once
scientist.
a scientist, always a scientist.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say you're not a scientist. I just meant like I thought it was interesting that you chose that right away. So what made you think of like saying your career name, your career hat first?
I gotcha.
Like, and this might sound dumb, but like if I was like conversations with a father, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that. And a lot of those things shape who I am, what I talk about, my beliefs, whatever. But at the end of the day, like when I look at podcasts as a medium, it's a way to get information about yourself out there. And the thing that I want to be known first and foremost, because it's going to pay my bills, is that I'm the search engine scientist.
Yeah.
Any
Sure.
avenue to get that publicity. And I had anticipated framing this conversation around, my ideas of business, finance, and stuff.
Yeah.
And then subsidiary to that, like all the rest of the things that make me, just because that's mostly where our conversations have been about. It's in like you think like people, like you said, people don't always like know the other things about you, and it's nice to emphasize that I am a father, I'm a husband, I do this stuff, but I feel like this medium just lends itself to be more.
I understand.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear your thoughts about that because I know you have many hats. What was your second choice?
I didn't even think. Really.
Like it can be related to your career. It doesn't have to be. Like if I had asked you and like, if you had a list generated in your head, number 1 is search engine scientist, digital alchemist, whatever, what would be second?
Definitely not slumlord.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah, entrepreneur.
Sure.
I was looking through my Facebook bio the other day, and I have it listed as full-time entrepreneur / or pipe the search engine scientist, then pipe real estate investor.
Why do you say pipe?
That's pipe char. That's what that.
Oh, really?
That's what that character's called. Yeah. It's called pipe char.
Pipe char?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So
the only reason I knew that is because that's like in doing SEO, there's like different separators for like it's called your title tag, where it's like when you search up a website, what shows up in Google, that like first thing that says like Johnson's Plumbing, you can either be a hyphen Duluth, Minnesota plumber, or you could have a slash, not normally slashes, or a tilde, or a pipe char. And a lot of people use dash or pipe char.
Because I feel like pipe char definitely has like more of a professional aesthetic to it. Because I use that in my resume.
You use it? You didn't know what it's called?
Yeah. It's such a funny
Real
term.
Professional.
Yeah, I know. So I put the words in your mouth, entrepreneur. What was going to be second if I hadn't put that in your mouth?
Well, that was probably going to be what it was.
Okay.
Either entrepreneur or something related to business that was a little more catchy. I just really trying to embody the search engine scientist.
I like it. I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about categorizing that as categorizing you as that, especially because we had that conversation recently about what actual like accurate words I should be using to describe what you're doing, because I wasn't
tee up language.
Yeah, and because I wasn't being that accurate with what I was saying originally. So I was reflecting on different questions for this. If you could have any mentor from anywhere, like live with you for like a week or a month
Mhm.
and teach you, like solely dedicated to helping you grow your business or whatever, who's like the first person that comes to mind?
Probably Patrick Bet-David would probably be one of the first people. I'm in the middle of reading his book right now. Your Next 5 Moves in Business, I believe, is the title.
And you haven't read this book before?
No, I started it like a year ago.
Oh,
I just haven't finished it yet
okay.
because life gets in the way when you
Yeah.
got 2 toddlers and rental properties to manage and all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's probably been the biggest influence on me that I've like directly let into my life, especially when I was getting started. Now I'm gravitating a little more towards Hormozi's Constant just because I've really
Yes.
identified his in his $1 Million Offers was his most recent book, I believe. He had talked about offering something so good you can't say no. You'd be
Yeah.
stupid to say no.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing we're trying to embody in our business right now is making the value so great that people can't say no.
Right.
And we haven't gotten to know yet, which either means the offer's too great or prices are too low. So we're trying to navigate that.
Yeah, or like you are just in a market, right? Like you're in.
I mean, we have
potentially-
competition though.
Yeah. Okay.
We have competition that are much larger, and we know that they.
But they're not local to Duluth, right?
Yeah, some of them are.
Are they?
I don't want to
Okay.
mention any names. I
No,
can
that's
tell you
fine.
offline,
No,
but-
that's fine. I thought, because I remember us talking about the origins of your business, and I
Mhm.
remember you saying that between you and Alex, when you started that podcast,
Mhm.
you had started talking to guests more and more about certain things, and that was one of the prominent things that come up that gave you the impetus to say like, oh, this is kind of a gap in the market in Duluth, is there really isn't. I mean, there is, but you felt like you could take a position and strengthen it for building websites for local businesses,
Right.
and be much more tailored towards local businesses.
Yeah, and the biggest thing of like our conversation that we've had is I've referenced of effective digital marketing was what was missing. So everybody can find someone on Facebook or whatever that's marketing to them this cookie cutter system that does whatever, and they're just not getting anything out of it, or they say they're getting SEO and gives SEO a bad rap that it's this black box that I pay money into and I think I get leads, but really all they're doing is just very minimal stuff that is done once and they're just collecting recurring revenue off of you for no reason.
Sure.
And so what we did is we were looking at effective. That's why I chose search engine scientist, is because I'm out there doing A/B tests. I'm practicing what I preach. I go in there and I'm doing tests, trying things different ways, switching them up, and going back, reevaluating and pivoting the different strategies that we're doing, and always learning, always researching. And you just don't get that with those large firms that follow their 13-step SOP that says they're selling you SEO or says that they're building you a website that converts.
Yeah. So you said Patrick Bet-David,
Mhm.
potentially
PBD.
Alex Hormozi.
Mhm.
Walk me through a day.
A day with PBD.
Or Alex Hormozi. I mean, I don't know if the difference, if the person having a different person makes that much of a difference. I mean, I understand what you're saying, that you're not in a position, you think, to like for them to like potentially give you the value, but I want to see what you think could happen, what value.
Right.
Yeah.
If I was at a position, and it's not that they couldn't give me value, they can give me a shitload of value.
Sorry,
It's just
yeah.
whether I'm in a position to capitalize on
As
that
much
stuff.
as possible.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
there's a big difference from going, from 300,000 to your first million, but then there's huge difference of going from your first million to your first 10 million.
Mhm.
And that's where those guys lie, is that
Right.
that's where their big thing is.
Sure.
Is putting the systems, like getting your avatars correct and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And I'm sure Hormozi can really help you from like the beginning part too. That's like his whole spiel right now, is when he invested in school, that his whole school games is to getting people from 0 to 50,000 through online communities. I think my biggest position where I'd want their mentorship in is developing systems, growing teams, how to think, like the book says, your next 5 moves in business. Where do I got to position myself now to be where I want to be in 5 moves, and how do I plan that out
Right.
and like determine where that's got to be?
Right.
And then maybe it's walking them through my existing systems, being vulnerable, being financially naked, showing like, this is where I am, this is what's going on, that's where I want to be. How do I get there, and how can you help me?
Sure. So maybe it's too long of an answer, but like walk me through what you envision a day looking like, with all of a sudden like Alex or Patrick Bet-David shows up at your door and they're like, all right, man, we're doing this. Like,
I'd be fucking sweating. Like that'd be some hardcore stuff because like I said, I'd want to take full advantage
yeah.
of everything that they're offering.
So just walk me through a day. What you think that looks like?
I don't know. I mean, what they show up in the morning, we have breakfast, we bullshit, we talk, get to know each other, build rapport, and then we get down to business. Break out the laptop, show them the structure of my business, how I'm making money, how I'm like all my other stuff, my real estate, all that stuff,
Sure.
how it integrates with my life. Show them like my personal schedule of I get up with the kids at 6 and all this stuff because I'm sure they'll have great ideas,
Insights, yeah.
yeah, on how to maximize. Because as an entrepreneur, you're not separated your personal life and your business life. It's all intertwined. Like
Sure.
you're never off the clock, on the call 24/7, and what you do in your off time greatly impacts what you do when you're in quotes working. So I think that would be the biggest place where they would have critique or maybe have advice is to get that optimized, and then I can further optimize my systems, my teams, and stuff like that.
Would you bring them on client meetings?
That would be very intimidating. What I would do is I would maybe show them a recording. For one, a lot of the people that we do business with are business owners themselves, and
Right.
they would know who those people are. They'd be like, "What the heck?" and not even pay any
But maybe
attention
it's
to
a
us
huge,
or what we're doing.
maybe it'd be a huge draw.
Maybe
What,
yeah.
what, like, what's this guy, like this local guy doing with,
These superstars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I would probably keep it off the books and have them show him afterwards to critique.
Yeah. So another question I was thinking about.
Mhm.
So where do you see, I think I've asked you this before, and so I'm sorry if I'm asking this again, but what is the absolute end goal with building the dream? Absolute end. Which maybe is like not possible in your mind because maybe you see it as like something limitless, but like if you were to give an answer to it, what would it be?
I mean, it is limitless because I'm in control of all the pivots we can make. But if we were to exit, I would find a pivot that's much more lucrative, that's more engaging, that I see a brighter future in, XYZ things happening that I'm not currently getting. And then if it doesn't quite fit under the umbrella of what we're doing, then it would be a spin-off and I'd sell the company. Like you should always build something with the intent to sell because that just makes a better product overall. Specifically because by selling, you're removing yourself from the equation. If your business can't operate without you, you're not operating a business, you bought a job. If you're working in versus on, that's the big thing between, being a business owner, an operator, and being an entrepreneur.
That's really interesting implication.
Mm-hmm.
So in your head, when you're walking around doing your business stuff, does it just like come to your mind like the end goal is to sell?
I mean, I want to build something, building the dream. I'm trying to build something that's worth something because like it not only is it building me cash flow, it's investing in an underlying asset, just like real estate. Like you buy a piece of real estate because you can rent it out short-term, long-term, whatever, create revenue, but then you also are holding an asset. Like it's worth something at the end when you want to wash your hands and be done with it. Business should be the same way. It's not a transactional thing. You are making long-term investments and decisions because this thing's going to be worth something.
God, that's really fast.
But if you build it in a way like a house of cards where you're the linchpin, that nothing else gets done without you there, no one's going to want to buy that.
So I don't know if this is pushing back, but it's like Google, I don't think operates under that same like, MO.
Well, they started acquiring everybody else instead of selling themselves. I'm sure they were approached.
So would you
sell.
consider that two absolute ends? Either you're buying everything or you get bought.
Maybe, but then also like the owners of Google, like I don't know if they also IPO'd, so that's a completely different thing. They already sold to other people. They don't own the entire company.
Oh, I see. You're saying with the public trading. Yeah.
So like it's still their business. They're still operating it, whatever, but they don't own all of it.
Yeah,
they already had that exit because they built it in a way that was profitable that people could buy into, whether that's through a private equity firm grabbing you up and then keeping your systems in place or selling on the private market.
So would you say, very simply, there's two ends?
You either live long enough to see something build it or die the hero.
Building the dream gets so big that you become public and you start allowing people to buy in, or you exit, you sell it. Are
Realistic,
those the
realistic,
absolute ends?
yeah. Realistically, we probably wouldn't be a publicly traded company. That doesn't make much sense for the business model, whatever, for scale, whatever.
Okay.
But selling, yes, that makes sense. And whether it's selling it to become a really niche down agency because we decide, oh yeah, we really like working with specifically roofers or specifically plumbers, and you dial in all your systems, and then you just go after that target niche nationwide. You're going to have a much easier way of finding those people, one, and then two, you can charge a lot more because you are so niched. And like maybe it's like specific, like you're looking at geothermal installation plumbers or geothermal directional, anything that's more the more condensed and like pinpointed you can get, the more you can charge, because then it's going to be an exact system that person can use to see repeatable results.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably where it would go. And I think we've had that conversation too. With an exit would be, I'll never stop working. I just will be working in a different direction.
No, I know. It's just interesting to think about. I don't know, kind of like the philosophy of it, I guess, was where it's like, do you walk around in your mind then thinking like, I'm gonna exit someday or something like that?
I mean, maybe it's a goal sitting, and I don't have it on a vision board or anything like that. But that's just kind of like the sentiment I have, and from the advice that I've been given of, always build to sell. And whether
why not? Why isn't the advice always build to get to like Google status, Apple status?
I mean, I don't know. It's just easier to say to sell, and that's a little more open-ended.
Yeah.
But like you do it because you like think backwards. Like even if you have no intentions on selling, if you build it in a way that somebody would buy it, even if you still hold on to it completely, like it's a much better business in the end. Because when somebody else is picking it apart, doing their due diligence, looking through your financials, looking through your SOPs, through your org chart, all that stuff, like if they would tear it apart, why shouldn't you be tearing it apart yourself? Like if that person has an issue with how you're doing things where they wouldn't want a part of it, why do you want a part of it? It's kind of the way to look at it. You always do your own due diligence on yourself that way.
So you would rather see, I know like you're saying, it doesn't maybe practically make sense with what Building the Dream is. You would rather see it exited at some point than go like to the critical mass of like Google status.
Yeah, and I just don't think there's like, it's not, SEO is tough because it's not an exact science. There's a lot of things always changing. You're reacting to how Google's algorithm changes, and it'd be really hard to build a product that is scalable, saleable, whatever, to get to that point.
Yeah, I understand like how it's not practical, but yeah, like let's say both options are possible. Would you still prefer exit route?
Yeah, because whether I'm exiting myself or exiting to my kids, I think that's probably. And then you have closure of it. You're not thinking, oh, I could have done this or I could have done that. Where it's like, oh, yep, I got it at this point. I sold it. If it sinks, that's not my problem.
Would you say it's the exception for people to not have gone through at least one exit before, like, kind of like the next business that they start or whatever? Yeah. Would you say like it's like, because I think about someone like Jeff Bezos. I think, did he only do Amazon or did he try multiple businesses?
That I'm not sure, and don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But like, for example,
like Musk is someone who's done that multiple times.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's exited PayPal, but other than that, I don't know if he's had any other exits. But that's your springboard to your next thing.
Right.
Like you get this level of like accomplishment. You're like, hell yeah, let's do it. We made it to the pinnacle. And then you sell, and you have all this money, but you also have all this time.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do I do with myself? Like I'm not, especially those grinders that become that upper echelon, they're not wired to just sit down on the beach, drink Mai Tais, and be happy to be alive. No, they want something more. They want to bring value. They want to, have that power and that status. And I think that's kind of the way I would see myself too. One of my biggest mentors that actually got me into entrepreneurship, I think he's had a couple of business ventures that he's helped spin up, but then also did himself and left, and then he like is chasing that next thing.
Is this the guy who did the birch bark thing, or is this the maxillofacial surgeon guy?
Well, yeah, they were super linked together. I didn't actually work for the maxillofacial surgeon, but I worked next to him and like worked with him on some other side projects trying to get things off the ground. But yeah, those guys are great inspirations to me and like show me that, what can be done.
So would you say it's the exception for someone to start a business and then it turns into the critical mass of like Google, Apple, or whatever, one business throughout, versus like, would you say the more common route is people have to go through multiple businesses before they can get to that point?
Oh, it's multiple businesses because I mean, you're not going to hit a home run on your first bat. That's just. I mean,
so are you more impressed with people who do that?
Yes, but it's also like when you look at the mentality of an entrepreneur, it's not realistic. Like shiny object syndrome is a real thing, and so many people suffer from it. It's hard to like stay focused, even inside of your own vertical. Like there's so many different pivots, and as an entrepreneur, things are changing. Like you're at the helm, no one's telling you where to steer, what to do, how to do it, and it's very easy to veer off course to the left, follow this idea or this delusion in some cases. And yeah, I would be very impressed if it was one person that ride or die, this is my idea, concept to fruition to exit. I also think that, a lot of those ideas that you first have when you first get bitten by the entrepreneurial bug aren't winning ideas. You're not creating anything. You're not recreating the wheel. You're not doing anything innovative, anything whatever. You're just realizing, oh, a service-based business is pretty easy to get into. Let me get my feet wet. And that's the way I entered it too.
And I guess people could make the argument that certain people who maybe had like the one business that blew up, to that critical mass, like I know with Zuckerberg, Facebook was not always what it was. What Facebook now is not what it was truly at its inception, because I think it was originally like a dating medium, like they created
something like that. It was just like campus to campus.
Yeah, and it might even just been like even before that, just like within the internal Harvard area to be like a dating thing. And then same with Amazon, like it started as a bookstore, and then Jeff blew it up. Other people, I don't know who else contributed in that, but obviously it is what it is now. So I guess in some regards, maybe some people could make the argument that it's not the same business, even though you maybe didn't have a formal exit.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, there's so many pivots. You're chasing so many different things. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. Yeah, if you can't be flexible, especially in the beginning stages, like good luck.
So a couple of questions. You exit. What immediately comes to mind for the next business? Does that depend on capital seed from the exit?
Kind of, but then also like I said, if I were to exit my marketing company, I'd probably start another marketing company, unless there was something new and like something that I wanted to chase and like use what I learned to like further delve directly into one thing. Like I said, go into like a specific niche or whatever. But also, I think I would take some of that profits from the exit, dump it right into real estate, because get an initial return, build that generational wealth, that family legacy sort of thing. And I mean, that's mailbox money. Why hold on to, if say you had $1 million exit, why hold on to that $1 million in cash or losing, 3 to 10% a year due to inflation, when you could just put it and park it in real estate, get a bigger return on in the meantime, and then have an asset or an underlying asset that's securing the value.
Tell the audience if the answer changes, what you would do if it was $1 million, 10 million, 100 million, billion, 100 billion.
I feel like if you exit,
just stop when the answer doesn't change.
I mean, I don't know. Like even if I had $100 billion, I don't think I would stop working. Like
I'm not saying you would stop working. What's the next move?
Right.
What comes to mind right away?
What do I want to chase?
And what does the chase change from the amount of money you get? Is what I'm trying to get.
Yeah, I'd say it would, because then there's things that like you have things that you want to do or pursue that would never make a payoff. Like,
so walk me through it. 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, billion.
Anything over 100 million, it would be something that's more self-serving, not
like
something that would, I don't know, like trying to be a recording artist, or
I was wondering if you were going to bring back music.
Trying to do something like a real passion project that you really don't care. Like you can just throw. So
you would actually try.
Oh yeah.
To become.
I mean, I would then would give me the time to invest into like vocal coaches and like all this other stuff, and really truly exploring that avenue and that passion and that realm that like I kind of sidelined because there's more things that are pressing or more things that are going to pay the bills.
More lucrative,
yeah. And so like when Everett was born, 2 weeks before he was born, I bought a new guitar as a celebration of a commission we made off of a sale. And I was like, man, this is awesome. I'm going to get back into guitar, all this stuff. And then he was born 2 weeks later. I'm like, shit, now I haven't touched in 3 years. So the best laid plans of mice and men, am I right? But yeah, if I had unlimited time and no financial obligations to like capitalize on that time, it would be exploring something in music and songwriting and stuff that isn't
Cool.
quantifiable, something that isn't scalable.
So would you envision yourself just like doing that for the rest of your days?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm saying, I know like family time,
yeah,
whatever.
but treating that as a job, yeah. And like I would try to level up myself like it was a video game. Like I'd start at the beginning, figure out, try to record my own stuff, try to get local gigs, try to play that whole scene and like feel that out, because I never had a chance to do that.
Then
You
go
know-
back to your 700 bedroom,
Yeah.
50 bathroom.
Yeah.
Oh, I got that local gig today at Sir Ben's. It was great. And then you're
Yeah.
just sitting in the huge,
My hot tub.
yeah, flying on your helicopter pad. So what if it was like on a lower amount? Like walk me through 1 million. Where, walk me through, because the end where money is no object anymore, you said music would probably be what you would do. So walk me through before that, every answer kind of, through, yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell because it would have to be what what dopamine I'm chasing at that point, what I'm interested in, what I eventually want to start a biotechnical company, whether that's biomedical
Cool.
or like something.
Anything specific in mind, or just a very general idea?
Yeah, very general. Like I'm just being a search engine scientist. Like I'm trying to reference my science background in my current thing that I'm doing. That's a big reoccurring thing for me, is that I have like nerdy tendencies. I have like these things that like aren't quantifiable in my regular personality, my everyday. Like before I showed up here, I actually had my Pikachu shirt on.
You just
but
should have wore it.
I should have, but it's a little tighter and it was hot out and it's not super breathable.
Yeah.
So like, I'm gonna sweat through it in the car right
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
But like those ways of like showing my personality in my professional like thing is like what I'm like, I strive and I like crave. So like doing a biotech company where I could, still be a CEO, mover, shaker, whatever in that, but underlying it, it's my passions. It's what I've pursued to get here in this point that I've kind of had to put on a shelf or leave to the side for bigger and better things. Like going back and picking those things up and using what I learned from these other endeavors to bring that to fruition would be something that's pretty cool.
Does something come to mind with like the specifics of the biotech company? Like you thinking like treating a certain, like a specific disease?
It would probably be wherever I could get funding or where I could find.
Say funding is like you get funding anywhere. Just
Okay.
whatever. Like what is it? And you, not to like make you think super hard, but like what comes to mind in terms of like if someone, angel investors, like I want to invest in you, whatever you want. What is it?
Something that has to do with, and not to sound like cliche, but like alternative energy, but not in the way that you think. Something that's taking, like whether you're repurposing like syngas from decomposing like stuff in a landfill, or something that's just like super creative and off the wall. Like I'm not doing it out of like an altruistic thing, like save the environment, like stuff like that.
That's
I'm
what
doing
you
it
mean by biotech. I thought you meant more of like a human health application. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean something like that too, but like I'm very interested in identifying the walls, as I call it, of a game, figure out how I'm playing inside of it, and in that sandbox, what I can do using what I have to create something MacGyvered out of it, and using like converting a waste stream product into a gold, like a liquid gold. Like that's my thing. I crave that shit. So like
Kind of like alchemy almost.
Yeah, kind of like alchemy almost. Lead to gold, transmutation.
Yeah. Huh.
So yeah, that's the way I would do it if I had, a sizable exit where my family was safe and I could make some gambles and, spend what I'm willing to lose, but still enjoy doing it.
What's that value look like?
What is what?
What does that value look like?
That was probably over that 100 million. Like you park half of that in safe things that are going to, prolong your legacy, set your family up.
Yeah.
And then the rest of that's play money to try something else. And I mean, you can make a big dent with 50 million.
Would you exit at 1 million right now?
I mean, I'm not even 30 yet. So like, that's hard to like realistically like think of. Cause like, yeah, that'd be great to have that money in your pocket. And you like my gears start turning of like, okay, that could be X amount of rental properties, put this much down on each one. And like, what's my cash flow returns and like, what's my portfolio, my debt to income, all this stuff like just rolls through my mind of what I could really do with that. But would I put it all into real estate? I don't know. Like when you have tangible like that, like they say money doesn't make a person but amplifies them. And I don't know, like I'd want to be disciplined, put that in there, but there's some things that I wish I could do now that I don't, just because I'm like, oh, that's not worth it, or oh, that's not who I am. But
So if I all of a sudden walked up to you and Alex with a briefcase, $1 million in cash, would you sell me your business?
at this point, yes, because it's not worth that. But down the line, it may be worth more, depending on what multiples you're looking at, what our internal cash flow is, and I'd also
I guess
wouldn't
you'd
want
have to split that with Alex. So
yeah, I'd also have to split it.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't want to leave my current clients in incapable hands.
Because
I mean, they put a lot of trust in us.
I didn't mean it necessarily as like, that's the outcome. I just meant like, would you sell it now?
I mean, right now, it's not in a position to be like, we don't have the systems that I dream of that I want to do, because I'm bogged down with the daily stuff. Like we're chipping away at getting things in place, getting staff, getting SOPs, like figuring out different business models that allow us to be less working in the business but more working on. And I mean, we're building it, we're in the trenches trying to get this done.
You're building the dream for building the dream.
Yeah, building the dream for building the dream. And that's where I see it. Like it's just hard to think of exiting at this point, because there's so much left to do that I want to and need to do.
Does the answer change? Obviously, the answer changes if someone gives you $1 million, between like that biotech kind of company you brought up.
Mm-hmm.
But does the answer change what you do with 10 million? So first, just answer to me. Where does the answer change? Because you gave me whatever, 100 billion, you'd go to music. 100 million, you do the biotech thing, whatever. Where does the answer change from 1 million to, I don't know, 100 million?
Of like being like altruistic versus business,
or just what you would do with it, like what you would do with the money, what you would do after that.
I mean, that's kind of tough, because like that is more obtainable, that is more reachable. Like when you look in the scale of things, I'd probably start another business. I don't know what it would be, but I would start another one.
No matter what, you're starting another business. Yeah. But most likely within that, you would also probably invest in some more real estate.
Oh yeah, and I'd be buying bigger, 32 unit complexes. One roof over multiple things with only minimal mechanicals to go wrong, instead of 500 single family houses where you have 500 roofs to replace, 500 water heaters, 500 whatever.
Yeah.
Really consolidate and reduce the amount of time that I have to spend working on that.
Sure.
But still have the ability to be like exposed to real estate.
What if, I was thinking about this question, and not that she would do this, because I don't know, and I don't think she would, especially because, she understands who you are, but like, what if you exited for, I don't know, 10 million? I don't know if that's quite enough for you and Olivia to retire on for the rest of your life.
I mean, we live beneath our means. Like,
let's say 50 million.
Oh yeah, that's easy enough to retire.
But my question is, someone gives you enough to where it's like you and your family are set, basically never having to worry about money, and you get this, let's just call it 50 million. Maybe it's a little bit less, whatever. And then Olivia's like, you know what, honey? I don't want you to work anymore. I don't want to work anymore. I want us to just go and live in Brainerd, and I want you to be a stay-at-home dad. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, and we're going to take care of the kids, and we're going to do whatever we want, but no more work. What do you say?
I mean, I would whether or not I'm getting paid for what I'm doing. Like, you got to have hobbies.
So you would compromise.
I mean, if that's what she wanted, yeah. And I mean, I would like a slowdown too. Like, if I worked hard enough to get to that point, like, shit, like I deserve a little bit of a rest. But like I had mentioned earlier, people that are wired for, entrepreneurship aren't wired to sit still.
I know.
And it like, whether I'm like dedicating that time into honing this craft, it'd be a different thing. Maybe I'd be obsessed with grilling and figuring out the science of, smoking temperature, duration.
Okay.
You don't think you get bored versus whatever. I mean, it's very hard for me to get bored. I don't know if that's ADD or what, but it's always jumping to the next thing and like finding a new hyper fixation.
What is it tell the audience, what is it? Shun? Your kind of like paradigm for how you approach life.
Oh, Soshin,
Soshin.
which is Japanese like ideal of looking at everything from a beginner's mindset. So like you will go through things, even if you are very comfortable with the process, um, you can miss things because you've done it 100 times, but when you're doing it at the 101st, if you're just doing muscle memory or whatever, you either decrease the quality or you miss out on opportunities for optimization. That if you're always looking back to how you did it that first time and thinking how can I improve, how can I whatever, you're just going to get complacent.
I watched an Alex Hormozy clip recently, and he kind of talked about something similar, and he called it the golden hour. I want to see if you agree with maybe this being the exact same thing, where he said, you've got this golden hour of this new employee who doesn't know things well enough to where they get kind of like locked into the systems and maybe can't think outside the box as well enough, but they still know just a little bit enough to where it's like they know what they're like, they know that they're in that building, like, do you think that's kind of like similar to what you're talking about?
Oh yeah, and I've had that exact same experience where when I started a new job and I'm looking at someone else's SOPs or someone else's training me, and I can already see, I don't know if that's another ADD thing where you're trying to finish people's sentences or whatever, but I can see gaps just based on my prior knowledge of how something should ran or how it ran here and different new ideas that I can bring to the table here I brought this up to one of my bosses actually, and she told me a very good analogy where she told the story about the fire department, and after every fire call they wash and polish the wheels, and they realized like why do we someone finally asked, why do you guys do that? Well, that's just the way we've always done it, is what they say. And then you go back to when it made sense when they originally started that, is that when carriages had wooden wheels, if you didn't take care of them, they deteriorate.
Oh, sure.
And that was just, standard procedure. And that got carried over into modern times where people have, aluminum alloy wheels that you don't have to touch, but they still do it. And you lose without that beginner's mindset and questioning, why is this the way it is? You miss out on those opportunities.
Soshin.
Yeah.
Where did you hear that?
I don't even remember.
Anime.
I wish. That would be cool. No, I don't remember who had mentioned it first. I think it was on a podcast when I was fiendishly consuming anything and everything to learn about business, entrepreneurship, how to make money, when I got let go from my job and I was playing Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Trying to find all the Crocs.
Yeah. I got close, but I haven't picked that game up since. I kind of wish I could go back and do it, but I think it's almost ruined for me now.
Yeah, I played Tears of the Kingdom when it got released, and I got to this point where I was like, I don't know, I just stopped getting satisfied with leveling up.
And then you think like, oh, if I'm putting this much effort into this, like, what happens if I put this time and effort into something else?
Everything.
Like, you get blinded by like the initial core of that RPG when it first launches, but then when you sit back and realize it's like, man, I could have been doing something way more important.
Yeah.
And that's the thing now, like at this age, like we either invest time into things that scale or things that don't. And it's up to you to determine, am I doing this because it makes me happy? Am I doing this because I'm like blinded by this thing that's in front of me, consuming my attention, scrolling on your phone, playing video games? Or are you out there, building human relationships, doing that kind of stuff that may not scale, but it does scale and level you up for whatever. It's a big thing to like think about how you're spending time and how you're choosing to invest in yourself, because time is a very valuable asset, and it's not unlimited. It may seem like you have a lot now, but I mean, you don't have kids, so you're like it's a completely different paradigm for you. But like once you have kids, like your time is not your own anymore.
Yeah, or it shouldn't be your own.
Yeah,
I think some people don't always, and that's just a crappy parent.
Different strokes for different folks.
What time do we have?
It's 3:53.
All right. Should we pack up?
Yeah. Now, how do you want to close out the episode?
I don't care.
It was your party. You didn't even think about close it out.
Do you think there should be an important closer?
Yeah. I mean, you got to at least mention what you're, I've had a great time talking with you. Shake my hand. Say, are you...
She stopped already.
No, it's gone.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, the whole point of this isn't to, like, I want it to be as much fun as possible, and I didn't want to overthink like I want the ending to be like this, I want the beginning to be like this. I just wanted to sit down, start it, and just do it. You know?
Yeah, I get that, but you gotta have a little bit of stuff that people can hold on to that they're expecting to
Why?
come. Are you a YouTube fiend like me, where you watch shows religiously? Of like, I used to really watch Donut Media, or some of those things that are more like indulgent rather than educational. And I don't know, like having like, "What's up, guys? Chris Fix here." Like, you hang on to those things, and I don't know, it just
Or like
builds that
Logan Paul,
familiarity.
like when he was first starting. Like, I think it's funny that people crap on him, but like, I think in another breath, he was a insane trailblazer
Mm-hmm.
for YouTubers. Like, he kind of set a template for other people. I mean, maybe there were people like him before him, but I mean, would you consider him to be kind of like one of like the first to really like figure out like a template for how to like start vlogging and like, you know, he built his clothing brand or whatever? And
no, like, I definitely give the guy credit. Like, he just made some poor decisions that didn't pan out.
Right.
But then, like, when you think of like the YouTube people that like really trailblaze, like, I don't know if you've watched the Mr. Beast interview where he goes in and talks about like how he formulated and got it down to a science of what a thumbnail should be, how long the video should be, what type of content, all this stuff. Like, it's crazy the amount of time, effort, and like resources he invested in just learning the way that YouTube works. Like, it's crazy that to think that he wouldn't make it after all that. And he really was a trailblazer, like Casey Neistat and all those people. Like, it's crazy the things they were able to accomplish.
But I think the difference between someone, and not that you're saying they're that same, but like the difference between someone like Mr. Beast and whoever else is like, for someone to replicate Mr. Beast, I don't think it works.
No, you gotta have your different shtick. Like, his stick is give a bunch of money for something.
Logan, I think it's like replicable.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You know, this is my life. This is my vlog. These are the crazy things I experience in a day. You know, like, so I don't know. I think that's also another cool part about Mr. Beast is like he started something. He kind of almost created this own like paradigm of like YouTube content of just like, you know, take all the money he's earned and funnel it back into this crazy hypothetical situation of, you know, like, yeah, whatever. But no, I don't have like a thoughtful closer yet. I don't know if I will. I mean, I don't necessarily want to overthink it. I just want to talk to guests. And I was thinking like after like the Socian thing and like you had like this little bit that was like really profound. I'm like, oh, this would be a good place to close like right there. But
you could cut it right now. Done.
But I mean, like I was fine also with just continuing. I wanted to check to make sure that we weren't bumping up against, you know, time, which we are getting basically there. So I don't have a closer yet. I don't know. Maybe I will. But I think most importantly, I just want to keep talking to people I really like, cool guests.
Oh, thank you.
People that I think have some really interesting things to share. So, yeah.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thanks for being my first guest.
Done.